Hi there, and welcome to the weekly RV report for the week of Friday, August 1st, 2025. Let's just take a moment and celebrate that we made it this far into a new month, the month of new beginnings. Thanks for joining us. As always, if you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share so that the channel can grow and others can additionally gain the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As disclaimers, normally I am not a financial advisor, nor am I a guru, thankfully, nor does this report constitute any financial advice for you. It's just merely quality information for you to use for your own discernmental authority. We have a lot to cover, so as always, let's get started. Now let's kick off here. I have a bunch of things to show you here, so bear with me as we go through this. In the nation of Iraq, the Iraqi federal government has given the Kurdistan regional government a 2-day deadline to begin handling over 100,000 barrels of oil per day for the month of August, or risk the cancellation of the Baghdad-Erbil agreement and non-payment of June salaries for civil servants. A KRG source told Zoom News. Additionally, we're going to show this article here, right up here on the rear. Additionally, Kurdistan's oil production is expected to rise 280,000 barrels of oil per day by mid-August. That's just 2 weeks from now. So that's definitely telling you a story. Also, Rapid News has reported that Maliki has been taken to the hospital for a heart attack. So that might be the narrative of how they're getting out some of the bad guys. We're going to be seeing a lot of resignations and people going away, either politically or unfortunately humanly, in this time. And this is just part of the shift that's happening throughout the global economy and throughout the state of the world. Next slide I want to show you is one here for the nation of Iran. Iran has finally emerged in the news a little bit. They're making a significant move in terms of approving a bill that would delete the 4 zeros from its rial/Toman currency. Again, it's rial in country, Toman outside, to unify its name. But what does that mean for the setup for the RI, just like Iraq? What if Iraq were to RI right behind the scenes just before Iran does, and they go together in lockstep? This seems very likely that it is, in fact, part of the plan. Now let's turn our attention here to the nation of Vietnam. A lot going on there, as you would expect as well. So let's get you to that. This is from Francis Haldekan on X. We featured this gentleman last week on our RV report. Vietnam just posted a 91% spike in corporate bond issuances for 2025. The remarkable 91% surge in corporate bond issuances for Vietnam during the first half of 2025 underscores the country's dynamic financial landscape and growing investor confidence. So what's that mean for the dong? It indicates an increase in investor confidence, an increase in economic liquidity. There's also an increased focus on the global market. Currently, right now, if you're buying dong, depending on which exchange you're buying it, it's sitting at around 26,145 to the dollar. So that's a great buying opportunity in terms of purchasing power at the current pace. And the signals are pointing towards gradual appreciation. This is what a real shift looks like. Capital markets are expanding, trade surpluses are rising, de-dollarization is picking up. And we've seen that throughout the world as BRICS gets stronger and the Dixie gets weaker, which we have talked about previously many times before. Okay, now we're going to turn our attention to cryptos here. So let me get to that. I'll show you some very exciting news that's going on with XRP and the SEC ongoing drama that front of scenes really needs to end, as it has, we believe, behind the scenes. XRP has been down slightly this week as a lack of a Fed rate cut hurt the cryptos only slightly, but it's still holding its position. This represents an excellent buying opportunity. While we wait the inevitability of the Ripple/SEC case being finalized by Judge Torres with the formality of paperwork documents. According to this article, you can see right here, FX Leaders article, it looks like both sides may settle the case before August 15th, which again is only 2 weeks away. So let's see what happens over the course of the next week in regards to this item. Could they wait till the 15th? Yeah, they could, but at least now we have a back wall date. We know where this thing is going to end. But it seems fairly likely that it could end by a week from now or several days, whenever this is time for maximum optimal effect. But we now again know where this thing is finally going to resolve itself, thankfully. And then we will see that price point we have talked about before. We believe a $10 plus range, whatever that looks like, We're not seeing a dramatic spike immediately, but we only need that for the purposes of the dinar to go between 10 and 30, which will give you a pretty good idea of where we're looking at once the free float process happens in the banks for the public exchange. Also, with respect to, we get this question from time to time, so we just figured we would kind of pull it all at the same time. With Shiba and Sheila Inu, yes, I personally have that in my portfolio. Several of my team members do as well. So we recommend, if you're led for that, stock up and hodl on these. All of these are long holds. What we're seeing is by year's end into 2026, we will see massive breakouts on these coins as we are in the season of the cycle, the bull cycle, especially once the Fed is removed optically for the public to see. Now, as you know, the Fed rate cut decision, Powell decided to pause interest rates until September when a significant rate cut is expected to occur. But this is all for optics and positioning. A lot can and will happen in the month of August, undoubtedly, in a variety of ways. Now, I'm going to show you another article, which I think is pretty interesting because this person, once again, is rearing their head for all to see. And I'm referring to Judy Shelton. With the groundswell of these items, the Fed can be removed entirely. Once again, optics. President Trump is talking about a little rebate. And so Judy Shelton here is talking about withdrawing the Fed. This is to get the public more and more used to the narrative, obviously. And President Trump talking about, let me get that up here. Yes, here we go. From Nick's Carter and X, President Trump talking about a little rebate, $5,000 check from Doge sometime in August. So that talk is being ginned up once again. And this is all to get the public in agreement once again, even though we know the Fed was dissolved into the Treasury over 5 years ago. And we had talked about that. So let's see. President Trump has also struck a huge trade agreement with North Korea this week. This is hugely significant for what we need to see in terms of the merging of North and South Korea coming out of the impending China-Taiwan conflict down the road in terms of the countries merging their currencies. So a North and South Korean won, as we have talked about in the past. This also sets the stage for Trump's China trade agreement we all know was timed for effect. Which country is next in line for a trade agreement? We believe Canada. Starting today, Canada is going to be paying 35% tariffs, and I'm sure a counter deal will be ensuing shortly thereafter. So let me show you what I wanted to show you here. Let's see, now this is a little video I want to play for you. This is in regards to President Trump posting on his X account, Il Donato Trumpo, these had for years. A China trade deal is coming soon. Take a quick look.
Okay, so it's very good, right? It's very smart.
它可以作为这是外公的一个光环了，一个小光环，小天使。当然也是中美友好的实质。
Now, granted, this was from his first term, but again, remember, future proves past. So he tends to do a lot of things in repetitive fashion, backwards and forwards. We have a couple of other things I want to show you that I think are of worth. We talked about this on my Telegram, but I think it's good for you to see a visual reprise of this. A lot of people talk about the wealth transfer, but they don't get specific about the wells themselves. And there's many of them. There's 8 wells. Obviously, you know about foreign currencies. You know about exotic bonds, Zim bonds, and the like, which you can see here at the bottom right-hand corner. You know about cryptos, of course. We have an exciting podcast coming up on that, by the way, next week. We're going to be addressing specifically cryptos, which ones to get, how to store them, and consulting thereof with one of our great team members who's courageously coming from behind the scenes. Obviously land and mineral rights, getting in the stock market, shorts and puts. Of course, the real estate market, again, with land and mineral rights, as I said, the futures market, also the energy market, specifically the quantum energy market, taking advantage of all the suppressed technologies. And then, of course, atypical penny stocks like Zion Oil and Gas is a great one that we recommend. So it's like the market's up in a couple different places, both the blue chip or the Dow, but also sort of the penny stocks, the lower stocks that people don't necessarily think about. So there's a lot of different ways to slice this pie. Don't just confine yourself. If God's leading you in a multitude of facets, don't just confine yourself to one vertical. Make sure that you're actively researching, paying attention, taking advantage of all the different elements of the wealth transfer, because as we see it, we're going to have at least a couple of years here to rake in what I call the proverbial harvest and take advantage of what's coming our way as God is opening up a portal for us. I also want to give a particular nod to one gentleman here, the wealth transfer with TC. We brought him up before. He does fantastic research, is a Christian, and does a very good, copious deep dive. And he has come across something I think is rather important and understated in this whole movement. And we're talking about hedge funds. As it turns out, as I mentioned on our Telegram the other day, we believe the hedge fund market, coupled with the Epstein files, is a big part of the reason why the wealth transfer has been held up. I'm going to play a clip here from his last video where President Trump is talking about this, and I want you to catch it and really let it resonate. Take a listen.
But you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. But you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place.
Now, the reason I rewound it 3 times for you is because I wanted you to catch that for effect. So he's talking about Larry Summers. He's talking about Carl Icahn. These are some of the largest hedge fund managers, the largest corporations. They were all tied in with the Epstein files. They're all tied in with the swamp and the deep state. So they've literally held back the wealth from us being able to move forward. But again, that's finally mercifully being extricated off of our back so that we can break free. Very, very important for watching. And we are watching, and I agree with him. I think he's right over the target with respect to the issue, number one. Number two, the timing. He believes that by the end of August, we're going to see all of these files and hedge fund people and politicians who either were involved directly or were involved indirectly and knew what was going on and covered up and just lied and basically were accessories to it. All of that's going to start to come out, which is very important to precipitating the wealth, the crash, everything that we've been sort of pontificating on that needs to come out. Also, for a point of historical interest, I'm bringing this one up. Ali Zateri talks about history. Federal Reserve was implemented. Remember, Creature of Jekyll Island was 1912. We talked about that a while ago last year with Greg Manarino. Go back and see that archive podcast for your own perusal. 1913, Federal Reserve, income tax, Rockefeller, American Cancer Society, ADL, Warburg, leading to the Rothschilds, World War I the next year, all in 1 year. Coincidence or installation? So as quickly as it was wound, it can be unwound the other way. It just takes a little time to reverse it. But we're seeing now at this point, because it's been built up over a period of time, it's all going to unwind in the opposite direction. God is making a path for his people, the wealth of the wicked laid up for the righteous, and his people have pointed out. And I said before, yes, the last shall be first, the first shall be last. This is all part of the balancing and inversion process for what we've all been widely anticipating. So on the precious metal side and commodities, as of the course of the time of this broadcast, subject to fluctuation, silver's down slightly, $36.77. Gold down slightly to $3,338.90. Crude oil is trading a little bit higher at $69.32. The dollar index is up to 99.74. Now remember, with respect to gold and silver, these are dips. So they're buying opportunities. If you're able to take advantage of them, and if you're able to do so safely with expendable income or a rainy day fund or whatever God puts on your heart to do, certainly if you're able to get involved, do so before everything gets loose. Because once silver does hit 40, I think it is going to start to move forward, and gold is going to continue to truck along, copper and many other assets as well. So it may seem like it's taking a while, and I understand that, but great things take time. But now we're in this season. We're starting to get into the point of the meat of the climax and the melt up here. So be vigilant, stay prayerful, continue to take advantage of the opportunities given to you, continue to work with your neighbors, families, friends, if you're able, and just continue to support each other and stay positive, because I'm telling you, over the next 30 days, you're going to see massive, massive things happening. Well, that does it for this week's RV report. As always, if any breaking news comes up or when we see the Ripple SEC case optically be unwound officially, we'll come out and bring that to you, or anything else that comes afoot in the coming days, week ahead. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. God bless. Take care. Goodbye for now.